Hey everyone, Hans here, hope you're doing well. Today's video is a bit late. I simply couldn't do it sooner because the weather didn't allow me, and I'm actually been working on the Viking series. I hope that in a few days I'll have the next episode up. Really I just need to edit everything and then it would be fine. Oh, and I also need to record the writings, so I still have my work cut out for me. Um, Okay, so what I'm gonna talk about a bit is the topic of vengeance and how in the 21st century vengeance is seen as something bad. But even in the past, there's some Buddhist guys and even Marcus Aurelius who claim that vengeance is a waste of energy and time. And it's kind of like harboring energies that don't get you anywhere. It's distracting from life. And I'm thinking to myself, well, let's just say someone drank your coffee and now you're gonna avenge yourself upon that person. Yeah, yeah. For such things, it's like, does really anyone serious have time for such things? But vengeance, I believe, is seen as it's confused with something else. It's like when someone evil, someone who does something anti-life, steals from you, uh, burn something of you, break something of you that is important, on purpose, or it's something very valuable, highly valuable. Yeah, so that happens. Now you want to avenge yourself. You know where the evil one lives, and you go to evil one's place, and you would avenge yourself, so to say. Well, here's where it comes. There are those who then think that vengeance means that you go to his place and just tear the entire thing down with everyone in it. Doesn't matter if they did anything to you or not. And when it comes to that, now a lot of people have a reason to avenge themselves upon you. Not only that, and here is where the Marcus Aureliuses and some of these Buddhists might come in and say, you see that it only perpetuates more violence or more uh, loss of time and energy, etc. I get that, but I do not. I would say that that is not vengeance. That is a dangerous tantrum. That is someone who, yeah, just tosses a tantrum while, really amped up, really highly. Well, I don't need to go further into it. You get the idea. What would be vengeance is that the person who was violated in some way goes to the place, does whatever sets it right according to oneself, but only that specific person, or maybe those who are, just the responsible ones for the misdeed. And just goes, that is vengeance. And then nobody can have a right to come back after you. Evil people would, but that's not born out of justice. And here there you have the main differences. Either it's vengeance or it's a dangerous tantrum. That difference is very important, I believe, for people to understand. That might, that would actually help in courts, maybe even, I believe. Was he or she justified, rather than following more than just a stiff law? And some courts still keep that in mind, so good on them. Yeah. Publicly speaking, if you're the individual, you have family groups, you have then the extended community, which is, you might say, the tribe. In a society where entire families might avenge themselves upon other families that have hurt them or what have you, it becomes more complicated. That is the case. Absolutely is. Then imagine that you are, and again, either it's a dangerous tantrum, or some family members are committing to a dangerous tantrum, either that, or They are focused, laser focused, go after the ones that have deserved that vengeance. That's why they say it's best served cold. It's about, yeah, it's about being focused. The blue flame. The blue flame of, well, dare I say Wodan? The blue flame of, yeah, of justice, of self-respect. Because that is where vengeance is born from. It's for a need of justice, and that is born out of self-respect. Self-respecting people will, they live with the idea that they have their independence, they offer that independence to everyone else, and they will not have their independence violated in any way. Nor that of their friends, nor that of their family. That seems about right, no? I think so. Imagine though that you have an entire society like this. If you are a ruler and you're one of those types who really just is some kind of control freak, who just wants to have power, this is like trying to rule over an anthill. And I just wanted to throw that in there. Because it may just reflect on why you may be told that vengeance is always a bad thing. Who needs to be afraid of vengeance? Who needs to ensure that you think that vengeance is a bad thing to follow up on? People that have it coming, perhaps. Maybe, or maybe I'm wrong. No, can be so. Make up your own mind, I suppose, about that. Well, not sure if you can hear that. Even the birds agree. Now, is there something else? I suppose, and this is something I may have a separate video about altogether, because I'm really fascinated by it, it's berserking. The images that you get of berserking, only recently I was I was just scrolling around a bit, I didn't have that much to do. And I didn't want to do anything serious in the first place. And I came across some of these old documentaries, well, old, they're like from the early 2000s, and it was about berserkers. And I knew better, I really did, but it still set me off a little when I actually watched. I opened the documentary and, maybe pause the video and just imagine, what was it that Hans had seen? I can tell you this much, it was awful. So you had a bunch of actors who were out of shape. Well, they were broad shouldered. They had their wild hair and what have you. There, but it's, yeah, most of them still looked like they. No, I'm not gonna go into that. So a bunch of actors, and they're like, "Roar!" Shouting and like going cross-eyed, and they're literally biting on a shield, and they have their axes and their swords and their fur over their almost naked bodies, and they're like having these drinking horns, and they're just mimicking that they're drinking something, and having Manisha muscara, I think it's called in Latin, the red mushroom with the white dot. Which is an hallucinogen if you digest it, makes you see things. And the whole story was, oh, look at them go, and I just look at that and I think that's basically just a junkie who is of the belief that he's gonna become a wonderful warrior, like the greatest warrior ever, because Odin and stuff. Can you just imagine that deity just hand over his one eye, oh, just the embarrassment to be associated with that. Yeah. Again, it seems to come down to Uh, it seems to come down to depicting that which is an important European uh, martial ability, if you will. Berserking is not for everyone. Uh, there is a biological aspect to it that only a certain percentage apparently can actually harness that, and it comes down to that organs during a high stress situation, like you have to run from a bear or you're fighting the bear or what have you, as it tries to tear your throat out. Um, what happens is that the non-vital organs for combat deactivate for a time, and then the remaining organs, like your heart is an example, and your muscles fill up with more blood. That's basically what happens. It makes you quicker. It makes, well, as far as the stories go, it seems as if time slows down when you're in such a state. That's how that goes, and that was more explored in the past, of course. Our ancestors understood this far better than we do today, because, well, guess what? A lot of people, a lot of anti-whites do not like whites to know that about themselves. I have known of stories of anti-whites that will drug themselves up with all kinds of filth, I don't know what. They will pick a fight, well, with just a white guy in the streets, at a dancing or whatever at a bar, and they're just so amped up on whatever it is that they can take tremendous punishment if it comes to a fight. That actually, happens all over the place, and that seems like mimicry of that. And I think that's where scholars get the idea of the whole drugs thing and all of that. And being drunkards apparently helps you too. But that is not berserking. That is that's like turning into a zombie, if you will, being turned to a zombie. And it has to be said that, well, if one is in that stasis too long, it is actually dangerous. It's physically dangerous for the person. It's meant to only go for. Well, I can't really put a time to it. It's different for everyone, of course. But too long, and the other organs will start dying off because they don't get any blood anymore. Or, well, what have you? It, the whole point I'm trying to make with that is, again, it's being presented as a dangerous tantrum, as something that is disgusting, but only disgusting people do it because you really need to be a sort of drunkard or a junkie. Uh, just It's as if only weirdos do this, but it is also part of the same route. Because I can tell you this much: it's basically to stamp down on European warrior culture, if you will. Warrior needs to have self-respect, right? And those of us, if you will, who have that berserking ability, well, if you are told that you're a bad guy for having that ability, or that you're just some sort of, that you need to get drunk or whatever the hell it's gonna be, that ability is never gonna be used that much, right? In a fight, you're just gonna stand there like a deer in headlights. If some anti-white, physically comes your way, um, yeah, I'm not sure what else I can add to that. Mm, there was one more point, I think. But yeah, at the end result of it, it's the stamp down on European warrior culture. Something that is, well, have you actually recently seen anything at all? A documentary, a video that talks about European martial arts? There are medieval books out there about it. Actually, there is this video game uh, that explored some form of medieval combat, but I don't remember the name. Might come back to that at some point too. But, how many of us actually think about it? You really think that our ancestors, invented all of these uh, these harnesses, these tools and whatever. You just and then just swung them about like cavemen. As they so much like to present us as in anti-white spheres. Don't think so. No, those tools came with martial ability. You needed, and it's not like in the Middle East or in the Far East or whatever. I like that's really something I noticed. Most races have their own styles. Yeah, sure. All peoples have, as a whole, tend to have 2 legs, 2 arms, a head, you know, middle center. That's your body. Fine. So you're gonna see comparisons, but when you're really looking at the build, while I'm actually suddenly talking about martial arts, I guess I'm gonna finish with that though. Think I'm done on the actual topic. Uh, it's um, it's important, I think, to look at what are typical body types among Europeans. You have like the 6 foot slender types. You have like well, actually no, length is not of the matter. But what you typically see is you have very slender types, athletic. No, not that necessarily athletic, but slender. You have broad, and then you have like even broader. It sounds like I like to call it wolf types, bear types, and boar types. You recognize the wolf types as being generally lean, excellent runners, very agile. And you have your bear types who they're like a little bit between the wolf and then the other one, which I'll mention in a second, is bear type tends to have what stood out for them again? Yeah, I guess it's just a balance between agile but like really going for big mass. And then you have the boar type, as I like to call it. And I'm just saying, like, these three is something that a group of friends of mine and me, how we like to look at it. Because totems, like our ancestors had. It's, yeah. The boar types, they have huge shoulders and huge abdomens. And they tend to be, well, they look fat. But most of that can actually be muscle. That's also why Europeans tend to be more fat, in a sense, as most of the races. It's also why it's told to us that being fat is a bad thing. No, we actually need that because it helps us survive in the winters a little bit more. It's padding, if you will, in a fight. Psychologists call that armoring. I think Wilhelm Reich, he wasn't white, but he understood this about Europeans. And, seemed to be an okay guy, from what I know. Unjustly treated, unjustly killed, from what I can tell. Um, but yeah, like, I'm going into all directions now. I'm really fascinated by all that stuff. And our ancestors, well, the Gauls, for example, they had boars as their totem, bears and wolves, very big in Germanic lands. If you go to the Hellenes, you'll have lions. If you, what else is there? Italic Europeans tend to favor the eagle, apparently. Also the lion and also the lion, actually. But if you might get the idea then that there's more behind it than just pretty fur, right? Or like in these documentaries, like they never explain that. It's like, okay, so they're berserkers, but what's the deal with these animal furs? It's like, no, well, maybe they ate some of that meat and makes them big and strong, or makes them fast and agile, whatever it's gonna be. Maybe it has something to do with that. Can we explore that a little bit? But all of it comes down to such observations, and knowing, having self-respect, having, wanting to be an independent person, and respecting the independence of others as beings, and wanting to see that respected, comes out of self-respect, and from that comes justice. Justice when that is But what is it in the USA? A snake? Don't step on snake or something. Don't tread on me. Plenty of anti-whites, by the way, have flags with that they will step on you. Make of that what you will. I'm going all over the place now. All of a sudden, maybe I should just, you know what? Here, I'm gonna finish it like this. So, in regards to martial ability, martial arts, martial skill, let's put it like that, because arts, that's yeah, it's not always the real deal, I suppose. We have different body types, hence our style is going to be different, and look at all the sort of weaponry throughout history that we've come up with. Not only in Scandinavian era, I'm not talking about just the Viking era now. Look at that. It's very varied. We're pretty creative when it comes to that sort of thing. And that came with certain forms of physicalities. Well, boar types would be excellent halberdiers. Bear types would be generally useful for all kinds of things, and wolf types, well, give those guys some small shields and some small swords, and just have them rush to wherever they need to be, that sort of thing. But yeah, all in all, our people really doesn't look at all of this that much, do they? Don't think about it that much. Um, it comes first with the spirit. I really kind of followed it up in the video. Yeah, I started in the video topic-wise as it should be with one individual. First, you look at your spirit. Is your spirit intact? Can your spirit withstand being violated? Yeah, there you go. Do you have an independent soul or a slave soul? How about that? Not too bad, I think, as terms go. Or yeah, and once you then realize if you have that independent spirit, then you can look into the physicality that you have, and then you can look into what martial arts are for me. As for these white people who do embrace all these non-white martial arts that come from Bruce Lee or what have you, yeah, fine, I guess. I have no issue with that. It's good to learn from others too if they're willing to exchange that. I think Bruce Lee, don't know that much about him, was kind of before my day, I guess. But I think in his era of the world, in this area of the world, he really wanted to stand up against a lot of corrupt dojos and all of that. Why don't you ever hear about that? Like all these corrupt martial artists that were just teaching people trash, but hey, they got a lot of money for it, so why not? Or they insisted that only their martial arts, even if it was valid, was one worth following. But us silly Westerners are being taught that all martial arts comes from those parts, not from us, and that everything there is honorable and noble. Yeah, well, let me finish also with this one. Just, yeah, maybe finish with this one. As a whitey, I think it's healthiest that you embrace your own ways, that you look at your own physicality. If you want to mold your body to another people's style, I can't stop you and I won't stop you. You're most welcome to it, even if you want to. But bear in mind that there might have been people who actually now have stifled your true potential because you're not following the styles of your own people. So it's not me pointing fingers, it's a word of warning, in a sense. What if you were told your entire life that you should be an excellent what is that word? That you would be excellent, I'll just say a black belt or what have you in judo or all of those things. No, what instead you were always meant to be one of those huge giants, like 250-pound guys that can, not strangle and twist and turn in 15,000 different ways, but instead you were just a guy who could pick someone else up and just throw him over your shoulder. What if you were meant to be that? Personally, that hurts a little, that thought. A lot of young boys, for example, but girls also, are denied that. But that's my thoughts on it. What have you? Um, yeah, I think that's all I have to say for now. You'll have a good one and bye bye.